With a goal of trying to provide more educational resources for businesses handling hazardous waste, the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Hazardous Waste Management Bureau is creating a series of presentations that deal with different aspects of hazardous waste management. For businesses that handle hazardous wastes, knowing and understanding the rules around managing them in the right way is critical to compliance and environmental protection. In this training series, I want to cover three broad topics: the Small Quantity Generator Self-Certification Program, what a hazardous waste is, and finally, how to fill out the self-certification form. There are a number of presentations on these topics that you can watch at the pace you want. Check them out when you have time and ambition, and go back for another view if there's something you still don't understand or forgot. The first thing I'd like to introduce you to is the term generator, which gets used a lot in hazardous waste discussions. In the hazardous waste world, a generator isn't something that makes electricity, it's a business that makes hazardous waste. So a company will generate hazardous waste, and as a result will become a hazardous waste generator. A little bit now on hazardous waste. As we go through our discussion, we'll talk about two categories of waste. They can be acutely hazardous or, for lack of a better term, non-acute. We'll talk more about them later, but for now, it's enough to know that acutely hazardous wastes are considered the most dangerous and have more regulations that apply to them. Only a small number of wastes are acutely hazardous, but for those businesses that have them, they're really important because just a small amount will make the business very highly regulated. Businesses that make what we consider to be a lot of hazardous waste also have a lot of regulations. Businesses that make smaller amounts have less regulation. We call these businesses with small amounts of hazardous waste small quantity generators, or SQGs. The line between a lot of hazardous waste and a small amount is 220 pounds of non-acute waste made each and every month. As long as a company makes less than that amount every month, they will have way fewer regulations. As I just mentioned, acutely hazardous wastes are more regulated. If a business has just 2.2 pounds or more of acutely hazardous waste stored on site, no matter how long it takes them to make it, they will be highly regulated. Businesses that make more than 220 pounds of non-acute waste in a calendar month or have 2.2 pounds or more of acute waste on site are called full quantity generators. If you're having trouble picturing how much 220 pounds of waste is, it would be roughly the same as a 55-gallon drum half full of water. Some wastes are more dense and some are lighter, so realize that this is just a general estimate. Your particular waste may be different. If you want more information on this topic, we have a separate presentation on figuring out what size generator you are. You can find it here on this YouTube channel. If your business is a small quantity generator, then you're required to take part in the Small Quantity Generator Self-Certification Program. You might wonder why that's necessary. What's so important about small amounts of hazardous waste? Well, our records show that about 1/3 of hazardous waste groundwater contamination sites in New Hampshire are caused by businesses that are small quantity generators. What makes this especially important in New Hampshire is that most of us get our drinking water from groundwater, our wells. So there's a lot of people that can be harmed by mishandled hazardous waste. Add to that, there's about 2,000 small generators throughout the state. The SQG Self-Certification Program is designed to give some education and oversight to small businesses so that they can better protect people the environment, and their own financial interests. We know it's tough running a business, and protecting the environment isn't always easy to make a priority. This program is the best way we've found to educate businesses with the least demand on their time and finances. It has the dual benefit of allowing DES to keep in touch with all of our small generators using, honestly, our own limited resources. We pride ourselves in being a state that has more contact with its regulated hazardous waste community than any other in the U.S., and we take pride in the improvements businesses have made with compliance and protecting the environment. If you're interested in learning more about the law that created this program or the rules that direct it, you can check out these references. Here's an image of how small generators can impact groundwater. This map shows businesses that are hazardous waste generators with red dots. Households are shown with blue dots, and areas where large wells are drawing water from the ground are shown with blue crosshatches. It's easy to see that a lot of hazardous waste generators fall within these wellhead protection areas and how important it is to manage their wastes in a safe way. Here's how this program works. Every 3 years, DES sends a self-certification form to the business making hazardous waste. The form collects basic information about the business and their hazardous waste and also contains a checklist. The checklist is used by the business to inspect their own hazardous waste storage area, review paperwork requirements, and overall check for compliance. They correct any items that are out of compliance, and the completed checklist with the fee are sent back to DES. We review the checklists and the information provided to identify sites that may need more guidance. In addition, interns from DES will randomly visit a percentage of the sites every summer to ask survey questions and provide additional basic assistance. Roughly half of the problems we find at facilities are with proper labeling of containers, management of used oil, and management of wastes known as universal wastes. Universal wastes include fluorescent lamps, antifreeze, and cathode ray tubes, to name a few. These are wastes commonly found in our homes, and it's often difficult for business operators to recognize that these wastes are regulated when they aren't in the household. While DES hopes these wastes are properly managed regardless of whether they're in the home or a business, the risk is significantly greater for businesses where larger volumes of waste are usually made and stored. While these are the most common violations, the things that keep us awake at night are hazardous wastes that are improperly disposed of. On rare occasions, disposal is on purpose because the generator is unwilling or unable to pay for disposing of it the right way. More often, though, it happens just because of a lack of understanding. One common disposal method is to evaporate the waste by just leaving it in an open container or airing wet rags out to dry, maybe outside the building where there's also an increased risk of spillage or leakage directly into the ground. Another is to throw it in the garbage, where it ends up buried underground in a landfill. Out of sight, out of mind, right? A third route is to pour the waste down a sink, a floor drain, or just onto the ground. This is a one-way ticket to trouble because that waste can travel through the soil to groundwater and eventually a well. Operators may not realize that sinks can run to septic systems where it's just a matter of time before it gets into groundwater. Even sewer drains that run to a city treatment system present a risk. These treatment systems are designed to process septic wastes, not industrial chemicals. These wastes might pass through municipal treatment systems unchanged, or worse, changed slightly into a chemical that's even more dangerous. Self-certification forms are mailed every 3 years based on county. Basically, the state is broken into 3 regions based on the number of generators in each, with 1/3 receiving their form every 3 years. In 2022, Strafford and Rockingham counties are due to submit their self-certification forms. In 2023, Cheshire and Hillsborough counties are due to submit their forms, and in 2024, Merrimack, Sullivan, Belknap, Carroll, Grafton, and Coos counties will submit theirs, and so on, cycling through the years. Along with the self-certification is the fee that supports the program and the assistance it provides. It's paid for the 3 years going forward, much like a driver's license. So in 2022, a business pays the $90 fee for 2022, the $90 fee for 2023, and the $90 fee for 2024. So $270 in total. If a business started up a year or two before receiving their first self-certification, they'll also be responsible for those previous years they managed hazardous waste without being certified. Nobody likes paying fees or charging fees, but DES tries hard to keep them as minimal as possible and has maintained a highly cost-effective program over the years. I hope that gives a good explanation of what the program is and how it works. In our following presentations, we'll look at what hazardous waste is, how to fill out the form, and the rules that are discussed in the form.